Well, welcome to another instalment of the Evolution Exchange podcast. Today is a special one. We're live here in Shape's office in Copenhagen. And today we're talking all things AR and XR. My fantastic panel today comprised of two companies. We've got Cora and Shape. We'll come to Cora first. If you could introduce yourself, Payman.
Yeah, sure.
We'll go along the couch.
Thank you so much for having me here. My name is Payman Tijani. I've been living in Denmark for the last 5 years and last almost 2 years working with Cora as a project manager. And that's all about me. Maybe you want to say a little bit more about Cora, what we're doing.
Yeah, so I'm Catherine and I'm a business developer at Cora. So Cora is a virtual reality, augmented reality production studio based in the Meatpacking district in Copenhagen. So we've been around since 2016. And we started kind of like a showroom where people could come in off the streets and just try the technology. At this time, not a lot of people have tried the technology, so it was kind of important for our founders, Simon and Peter, to democratize the access to the technology and work from there. So they kind of developed the business for people coming in and trying the technologies off the street. And we work quite broadly. Both within culture, marketing, arts, healthcare, and mental health is a big segment for us as well. So yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And thank you guys for coming today. I really appreciate it. And then over to our hosts today. Simon, we'll come to you.
Yeah, hi. Well, thanks for having us, and thanks for coming here to Shape. My name is Simon, and I work at Shape. I've been working here for 6 years, give or take, as a principal iOS engineer. Shape is a kind of a classic agency in that we do all sorts of different projects for various clients, but we have the twist that we're focusing on mobile development, so for iOS and Android. We also do some backend development, but that's mostly like to support the native mobile apps. And for the past, 3 years, we've been working on the IKEA Place app. Give or take?
3-4 years, yeah.
But you can say much more about that.
Yeah, so I'm Julio, one of the iOS/AR developers at Shape. And I work on one of these projects that work with AR, and I have some game and 3D development as a background before joining in Shape.
Fantastic. And thank you again for having us. Now we've kind of figured out and got a context around all of you. You've introduced yourselves. We've all gone through and prepared some questions, and we'll kick off from there, I believe. Mm-hmm. So the first question, AR is sometimes seen as quite a fancy tool, but how can it be really useful in the real world? And I think, Julia, we'll come to you first.
Okay, so first of all, this is not something new. We have some forms of augmented reality throughout the last 30 years, I would say. For example, in the 90s they introduced the heads-up displays in cars where you can see the speed while you're driving. That's one, analogic way of augmented reality. Well, before that, we can say from the war, fighter jets had or have heads-up displays, but nowadays the most modern fighter jets don't even have heads-up display. They have a head-mounted display where the pilot can see through the jet as if the jet wasn't there, right? Mm-hmm. So this is one idea. Well, we are talking about high-end tech, but also closer to us, there are many utilities that you can have with AR. For example, there are apps already that you can go, for example, in a supermarket where it is full of shelves, and then you want to find one product. And then you just type in one product, and it leads you to the right shelf and to the right position where you can just pick up the object that you want. Mm-hmm. I remember Simon was trying. You can speak more about that, but Simon was trying with some AR app.
Oh, so is it the chubby guy?
No, for the energy.
Okay.
Or you could like.
So not the chubby guy. We'll get back to that then.
Yeah, when you are pointing the device to an appliance at home, and it would give out to you the electric power consumption live in AR, so it's closer. In education, for example, doctor students, medicine students, they practice surgeries with virtual reality or extended reality. And the list goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not that new, but it's like kind of become a mainstream, because exactly these different use cases that is like being spread all around different industries, healthcare, as you mentioned, education, simulation, for training purposes, arts even, and culture. Like you can have location-based arts. Like for example, we did like a location-based art piece that is like in more than 13 botanical gardens all around the world, and you are following a map to see an art piece which is made by Cora and also collaborating with the original artist. So
Kind of like a Pokemon Go for contemporary art.
yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah, I think thanks to mobile phones, like smartphones, it's like this technology is more accessible to everyone to at least experience something with augmented reality. At least it's like Google Maps.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I remember once I went to US, and then it was Baltimore, close to Washington, and I didn't know the address at the time where I wanted to go, and I was going on foot, and just loaded it in Apple Maps, and then started walking. I had my Apple Watch with me, and every corner that I needed, I was just looking at the Apple Watch, and it was giving me the direction whenever I had to do any interaction with the real world. So.
Yeah.
Even though it was not a visual experience, it was like a touch experience, right?
Yeah.
And then I could see with my eyes and then do the actions based on that. So it's also a kind of augmenting the reality,
Yes.
not just through eyes, but through all other sensations and
But yeah, I tried what you're describing, the navigation scenario, but in an augmented reality context, like not tapping on the arm, but actually in a visual context. And that's back to the chubby guy. That was probably my favorite AR experience ever, though it's quite simple. There was this little, I don't remember the name of the app, but there was this little chubby guy, and he was only wearing underpants. And then he would walk in front of you. Of course, you had your phone in front of you, and then it would show this chubby guy, and he would walk in the directions that you should you should follow him to go from A to B. And for someone like me, this is a super useful tool, because I suck at finding my way, especially when I'm on vacation. I'm like, if I visited Paris recently, I just walk with my head down in my phone to find my way all the time. So I don't really get to explore the city. But when I use this little gimmick, I could actually see the world around me, and I just had to follow this guy. So I'm really looking forward to the navigation use cases.
Yeah, or like virtual assistants, you know, especially when you're somewhere that you need like a visual assistant. Someone needs to take your hand and tells you, you have to go there, you have to grab this, and you have to do this that way, right?
Yeah.
But of course, as Julio mentioned, this augmented reality is not only visual; it's also audio for people who are not able to see, or you know. So it can be also audio. So. Like we do lots of different projects because we're working with healthcare and education and training, and we use this technology.
Marketing cases as well.
Exactly, like marketing cases. So it's I wouldn't say that it's fancy anymore, but there are so many people that they don't know that what they're using is augmented reality, like AR. So in that context, then it's like I would say unfamiliar rather than fancy tool.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
Catherine, from a business developer's point of view, how is AR going to look like in the future? How will it transform the way we live, work? Because you're working with that day to day, right?
Yeah, I think you talked a bit about it, like navigation point of view. I think most of the companies, and we're coming into those questions as well, but most of the companies are working towards kind of a mix between, mixed reality, a mix between virtual reality and augmented reality. So having the glasses you have on now, having a digital layer on top, could be something that can be very useful for, now we're talking about the navigation case. I think marketing is a great tool as well, like using AR as a marketing tool to kind of immerse your audience. You have a mobile device, that's everyone has that, so kind of making portals into other worlds is an immersive tool as well. So kind of finding the right cases in marketing is something that we always try to do, but like a key point for us when talking about these marketing cases is immersiveness and engaging your audience.
Yeah. What about you guys? Have you?
Yeah, you mentioned about the glasses. I wonder when that is gonna come true, because for now, when we have any AR experience, mainly when speaking of mobile devices or even iPads, you have a limited viewport, like let's say a 5 by 15 centimeter screen or a 10 by 30 or whatever. And then if you had the glasses on, wherever you look, you don't have to drive your attention back to one viewport, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's just all around you. That would be awesome, for example, for navigation or any other utility.
There are some glasses already that they give like a quite impressive field of view, like Vuzix, for example, but it's like very expensive. Like they have their first commercial glasses announced in CES this year, and it's like around 2,500 euros or something like that. And it's just a display, you know. I think if I want to compare it like with a similar technology in the history, I would compare it to phones and smartphones. You know, we had like these mobile phones at the beginning, and then they became smart and smarter. I think it's gonna be same with the glasses, especially with mixed reality glasses, that you can switch anytime if you want to see a layer or augmented reality, mixed reality interact with physical world and digital layer, or you want to completely immerse yourself into VR. So that's why I think some of these companies like Meta or HTC or Apple are going towards MR devices rather than either VR or AR, because this is how it's gonna be. But yeah, coming back to comparing to the phone, most of the affordable glasses that is out there, I'm actually having the second one tomorrow delivered. I'm very excited to try.
Okay. What's that?
It's Nreal Air.
All right.
Yeah, so they just provide a screen, so you can connect it to your Mac, PC, phone, a Stream Deck, or if you can even connect it to cloud streaming games, and you can have 3 or 4 screens as well as like a giant cinema screen for like 201 inch. I'm just talking about this Nreal Air. So I'm very much excited. I want to try for like at least 15 days in a row, take it to work, and not cycling, not driving, but walking.
So what does it mean that it's just a screen? Is there no head tracking or?
Yeah, it has head tracking. It's like 3 degree of freedom, so it tracks the rotation in all the directions, but not forward and backward. Yeah, so I think at the beginning it should be like that, because I just need a screen, you know. I don't want to like have my head down all the time, or like sit like that. I just want to walk, or while I'm cooking I want to see something. So these type of use cases for type of mainstream, this technology becomes mainstream, and then slowly these glasses become smarter and smarter. So we have they're already called smart glasses, because we had glasses and then we are adding like I think we need to wait until more technology is invented, until we really feel that they are changing something. But
it's kind of the development from flat screens, seeing all of our interfaces being through flat screen, to having it in your field of vision and having those interfaces right before you can say.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's like more like advertising and marketing, what you are advertising. So I'm so excited about this glass, because I can wear it everywhere, and I can have my screen with me, and I can have my computer also. I can use like cloud streaming games or whatever. Of course it's limited because I don't have controllers and things like that, but there are other solutions for that. If if you want to talk about those. Yeah.
I think we've obviously mentioned the glasses. There's rumours flying around that Apple are going to venture into AR, XR. What do we expect to see, Simon? I know.
Yeah, so this is what has us really excited about AR at Shape, at least right now. I mean, we're also super excited for AR on the phones, obviously, but there are these rumors that Apple is going to step into the game with a new hardware product. And everything's just rumors right now. We know basically nothing, but there's this rumor of a headset that's going to cost somewhere, I think the rumors are somewhere between $1,000 and $3,000, more likely $3,000, so priced around the same as HoloLens, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the rumors also suggesting that's like, it's basically, it's more the same use cases as HoloLens,
Yeah.
more than maybe the Quest or
Yeah.
similar. So these, there are these rumors that you can connect the headset to your Mac and move your windows over on the headset. I believe the HoloLens does something similar. I haven't tried it, but for Windows, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
No.
No?
No. HoloLens is using this hologram technology, which is a little bit different from like virtual environments and things like that. So you see, HoloLens is running on a Windows system. So you have the windows as you see on computer. You can open up a window in HoloLens.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
what's
And
really
Microsoft Teams, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it works as like a standalone device, right? But yeah, I agree with that part that Apple wants to have like standalone headset that also the chipset are more powerful than the highest or the latest iPad or iPhone. So yeah, I assume that they want to have like put a laptop on your head. You know?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah, I'm
yes.
guessing they would use their own chips in the headset. That would make sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think in terms of if they're gonna change the industry, I don't think I'm very skeptic about this because what they're we have like very high-end VR headsets, you know, but we don't have enough content for all of these things. So like content and tools are more, I think, at this level are more important than a hardware. You know, I think we're good to start with the hardware that we have. We're good. We just need to focus a little bit more on creating application and the other technologies are not moving as fast as the hardware devices in XR. We need 5G and even 6G everywhere, right? We need
Or even
cloud
more,
computing to and also having access everywhere. But even like there's some places like industrial country like Germany, some places your phone doesn't have access. You know, it's
No, as a developer point of view, I would argue that as a content creator, I would argue that the hardware is not there yet. I face daily many challenges when trying to apply some things that I don't have. I just don't have. For example, if I want to match all the environment into a virtual environment with all the details and all that, for example, to paint a wall,
yeah.
it's currently not good yet.
Yes.
I can't do that, you know.
Yeah. When
And it's, if you think it's simple, it
Yeah,
should be
yeah.
simple,
yeah.
but the hardware can't do that.
Yeah. But when I mean that we have the hardware is just in general, like you can have like high end kind of graphical experience on a PC VR, right? But with standalone VR, yes, I absolutely agree. And I mentioned earlier that we need to have more technology to be invented for creating this, and it's like not only hardware technology, also software solutions like a universal scene definition or which iOS has, like Apple has, which is amazing. You can move things around in different platforms with very minimal like manipulation on shadows or materials and things like that. I can explain a little bit better. Like it's actually pointing that purpose. We need to compromise. We need to optimize a lot of things in order to have a functional application in graphic. But but in our use cases with our clients, the graphic is not always the most important thing, right? It's we are living in a real world like this, and we don't want to replicate the same thing in VR, right? Like lots of museums want to have like a twin digital museum, which is boring, absolutely boring, right? You want to touch things, you want to feel things, and if it looks realistic, it's not a good thing for museum, but it's a very good thing for surgeon training and simulations, right? For designing architecture and things like that. What I'm expecting these headsets that they already have and they already promised that they will have is just some kind of environmental sensors or depth sensors, right? Like Meta Quest Pro was supposed to, and it was also advertised that they're gonna have, or it's gonna have a depth sensor, but when it came out, they removed that chip.
But that's
right?
something Apple has been good at, right?
Yes,
The LiDAR.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited
Yes.
about this, but I'm still, when we talk with people that they haven't tried VR or they're not VR pro, the expectations are very high, you know. But if you talk to someone who spends at least one hour a day in VR and like working or creating some things or playing with VR, then you kind of get what is missing there, you know. You kind of, so it's really difficult job. So when it comes to our client, when they come to our company and they say, we want to have a simulation, realistic, and all of these things, and then we are very much limited to budget, and then this is where the hardware comes, and this is where like how realistic you want it to be. You want to practice, you want to get the muscle memory, or you want to be in the situation, you know.
Interact with the environment. Right?
Exactly.
Because there are two things in the same field but a little bit different. For example, virtual reality is where you don't need to be as real as the reality, but you can create your own virtual reality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now, for example, if you want an extended or at least an augmented reality, then you depend on the real
Yes.
reality.
Yes,
on the real
with
world.
augmented reality, I absolutely agree with you.
And then we are good with output technology, but we are not yet there with input technology, like recognizing colors, shading of the environment, and reproducing that in virtual stuff. For example, if I want to place this microphone and a second one, a virtual microphone on the side, and represent the same lighting and shading, well, I might do that after maybe 2-3 weeks of work, but if it were there, I could do just that, just by placing that there, you know.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Well, when it comes to augmented reality, or especially like mixed reality, then we are not happy with the devices that we have. It's like very much limited to handheld devices, you know. Even the head-mounted devices like Meta Quest Pro that has like RGB pass-through, it's not there yet. Yes.
But isn't this like an iterative process where a company like Apple or someone needs to put out something, and it isn't what we want.
Yeah.
It's what they can deliver,
Yeah.
and then need to iterate on it over the coming years. Or should they just like put it away and then release it in 10 years?
Yeah.
I think there's like an iterative process to this.
Yeah.
Releasing something, having people buying it, and then iterating on it, and like. So I don't think we're gonna get what we want.
I think
That's rarely how it works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we will eventually.
Yeah. I think I talk so much.
No, I think like it's because we're all waiting for that iPhone moment,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and
yeah.
I don't think we're gonna get it. But I mean, it's definitely a step ahead towards the smart glasses that we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Um,
I don't think we're gonna get it either. Not right now, but I think so eventually. But I don't know. Maybe I'm still in the honeymoon phase with AR and VR, because I mean, I'm quite new in this space. Because I mean, I've started exploring it because Apple is supposed to, or like rumored to release this headset, and I feel like it's an impressive technology.
Yes.
It might not be where we want it to be, but it's still impressive, and I feel like it's. I hope I'm not stepping on anyone's toes, but it's like it's still operating in some verticals that are insanely interesting. Health, for example, education, arts maybe is also a vertical, but it's lacking that I don't know, the horizontal connection that makes this meaningful in everyday life. So in that sense, it feels like if Apple were to release this tomorrow, it's a technology that's still somewhat seeking a problem rather than the other way around.
Yes.
There are certainly some problems, but that's not for
Yes.
me and you in our everyday life probably. And that has me quite excited. Usually I'm not fond of technology seeking a problem, but because I really think this is an impressive technology, it has me excited. And I think Apple has historically proven that they're quite okay with this technology seeking a problem. I remember, like, you probably also remember when the iPad was released. No one knew what they were supposed to use an iPad for, but now everyone wants it.
Yeah.
Because they made the demand.
Yeah.
And I have this feeling that they can do the same with this.
But I agree with you, like, we need to get the content, because I was also pretty excited when we got the Meta Quest Pro in the house, but it's like, but what are we going to show clients? How are we going to use, like, what valuable cases are there right now with the mixed reality?
That's what I mean.
I can paint in mixed reality, and I have a painting here, and I can do something over there, but I mean...
Yeah, and that's like the technology seeking the problem, right? We need the...
Yeah.
We need the software. We need the...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, Apple didn't become Apple until they built up really cool content for it. You know, like music, video editing, like on the device. Like wow, you know.
Yeah.
So this is what I mean. Like we need good contents for, and also. It's I don't know how to say it. It's a little bit rude to say, but I'm gonna say it anyway. You can put your filters on it. I think human beings is a very lazy being, right? We are inventing things to make our life a lot easier, so we can lie down on the sofa and do things, right?
Yeah.
So this VR thing, it came to the mainstream a little bit from a gaming. Perspective, and we are trying to move it into other things, other fields, and we expect the VR to be to take our daily life. No, I play video games, also VR games a lot. At the beginning, I was doing it stand up, and I need a big space because I want to run around. But now I just sit on the sofa, I lie down, and I move like that with my fingers, and I'm jumping, shooting, doing also. At the end, I want to be comfortable and lazy, right? So with VR, it's so difficult to expect people to use it in your daily life, but sorry, you shouldn't sit. I mean, it can be a good thing if we really want to have a healthier life, right? Not sitting behind the desk for 8 hours, But VR by itself is not gonna, in my opinion, it's a very personal opinion, is not gonna be in our daily life. But MR and AR absolutely gonna be taking over computers in 10, 15 or even 20 years.
That's where the interesting use cases are.
Yeah.
What do you think?
And once you get there, because if you think today, these smartphones are an extension of ourselves. I don't have to remember any address today.
Yes.
I can get there anyways. I don't have to go to an airport to buy my flight tickets. I can do just with my extension, my mobile phone. Cooking, I don't have to be a pro in the kitchen. It's just go to my extension, the mobile phone. So, and it became part of our lives. And this VR, any kind of XR, this is becoming more and more, it's coming into our lives. And once you get there, I think it's going to be like our extension. We won't be able to avoid. For example, let's say if you have these glasses where it's just a layer in front of your eyes, where you have the reality, but then you have all the information that you need in front of you. How can you get rid of that? Right?
Exactly.
Your address, your whatever, your website that you're navigating, driving directions that you need. Like you are in a car driving 100 kilometers an hour. You need to know the exit. ahead. You don't have to drive your attention off your sight.
Yeah.
It's just in front of you
Yeah.
or anything like that.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, I think VR will remain kind of a tool and
Yeah.
excessive tool.
Yeah, as an immersive technology, VR is absolutely great. You can isolate yourself or anyone and just put them into your dreams. You know,
Exactly.
you have a world in your head and you can create it. You can create it. It's very easy these days to create. Not easy, but not easy. But it is compared to like 10 years ago. It's very easy to create your dream world and then invite people to it. You know?
It's interesting that you mention it because I can see in 3D content. In the past, not very far in the past, we struggled to have 3D in screens. Nowadays, we decide whether we want the 3D world to depict the real world. I was many times in a few 3D content advertisements, I was deceived by seeing that the first time, thinking, well, this is a real human being speaking, and it was not. It was just a 3D model and all that. After like, I don't know, a minute, I noticed that it was not a real human being. So we decide whether we want it to be reality or our dreams. There are so many cartoons you see in 3D cartoons and all that they purposefully decide to look like a cartoon. It's an option. It could be our dreams, as you say.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I mentioned about the museums want to have like digital twins, and I said no because you're gonna show me something that I see every day, or I can go somewhere and I touch it. I want something dreamy. I want something fantasies to come and add color and joy to my daily life. So based on this, we don't need those high-end devices, right?
Well, Simon, you were super excited with Apple bringing this hardware in. Why do you think Meta, these giant companies, Microsoft, are kind of moving away and pulling away from that XR space?
I don't think I'm the right one to answer that question, honestly. I don't know.
Who wants to jump in?
I don't think any of us has the answer.
Yeah.
I
Because,
think it's speculations most of it.
Yeah, but
it's all
we just have some guesses, you know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's beyond content creation. It's about current situation. You know, we are post COVID. We are having nearby a war going on, and it affects. So we had massive. How do you say in English? Layoffs in big companies. So I think that's just a result of that. You have to drive your resources to where you can have income. You know. I think it's just that.
It will be a huge investment. Like
exactly.
as we discussed, whatever's put out in the world now, that's not gonna make you the big bucks probably, because that's not what people want.
Yeah.
It's like
And then then there's also a little thing called ChatGPT.
$10 billion.
There are different facts that came at the same time. So like virtual reality and augmented reality and digitalization became a big thing, and then we needed them so much in the lockdown and when the pandemic hit, right? So lots of companies started to think about it and maybe invest in it, and then after the COVID, as you mentioned, they started. Then the metaverse hype came, and they had some hands on some of the VR headsets that they were like, oh, this is promising. We can invest on this. So they started to invest, and I think there's bad strategy from the leaders of those companies. I can make an example. I can mention names. It's alright. It's on the news. So, like for example, Meta. I don't remember the name of the CTO, the old CTO and the new CTO of Meta. Not Meta, sorry, the VR department of Meta. Sorry, I forgot. Reality Lab. The previous one was the guru of the video games. He was a big guy in video games and stuff. So Quest and Quest 2 became, and Oculus became like the only device for gaming for virtual reality. And then
was that the Valve guy or?
no,
different?
no, I think he was already in Oculus when he
Alright.
started. I don't exactly remember. But now the current the CTO of the Reality Lab is a guru of advertisement from Facebook.
Mm.
So you can see like the strategy is totally different. Now they want to use this technology for advertising and marketing and all of these things. And so many like top VR studios that they like Meta bought, for example, or they hired or acquired, they haven't produced anything since Meta bought them.
Mm.
So this is only about Meta, and I think all of these big giant companies, they felt that there is a competition about this. Who is going to be creating the metaverse? Who's going to play the main role of creating the metaverse? They invested so much, and then the war happened. The post-pandemic inflammation in the world happened, and no one's going to know what is real, what is not real in terms of economy and all of these things. And then they started to pull out.
Yeah,
So
and they got
slowly,
slowly
slowly.
talking about the metaverse,
Yeah.
and all of big companies kind of
Yeah.
became very mainstream to talk
Yeah.
about a metaverse. But when clients come to us about,
Yeah.
they say like, "What about the metaverse? What? Where's that?"
Yeah,
and we're
yeah,
like,
exactly.
"Well, there's not a metaverse, but
Exactly.
it's platform multiplayer virtual platforms, right?"
Yeah.
So I think that kind of is
Yeah,
one of the things
yeah.
that maybe it's a big.
Exactly. Even Apple, like they were like Apple itself announced that they're gonna say something about the augmented reality glasses in 2023, and now they postponed it and said forget about it. Like 2025, we will tell you something about it. But what we're gonna give you this year, which they were supposed to give by March, and then they postponed it to June when they have the developer conference in
exactly.
July. Then they're gonna announce it there. It's not a AR glass, and it's MR headset. So I think these are at least the reasons I think.
So you mentioned in your question that a few companies are going out while Apple is coming in. I feel like what these companies promised, they didn't deliver. And at the same time, Apple is not from now, but from a few years ago, from a couple of years ago, they are investing in augmented reality, especially augmented reality. So, for example, they delivered a new framework for a room recognizing room and also with Apple devices, you can literally scan an object and get a 3D model out of that. And they try to approximate the textures of that object as well to paint that, not just to have a white model or anything like that. So they are, since a couple years ago, already investing in that. So that's why I think they are putting more and more efforts on that. And the other companies, that's just it. I don't think they delivered what they promised. Everybody wants to see metaverse, but I don't see anything. Where is it?
Where is it?
What is it even?
What is it even?
But that actually reminds me of that. But that's a different question that I want to ask you. Because you mentioned that Apple has been investing in different technologies through the previous years that are probably lining up to this. And I think you mentioned the framework and scanning objects and so on. But I think a part of that is also spatial audio. So if you're in a virtual world, you probably want this spatial audio where audio is coming from around you, so to say. Is that something we've seen in other technologies? Is that already out there with some headset that can do this 3D audio that Apple is supposedly doing?
It's not something new.
Yeah.
Well, in around 12 years ago, I had a chance to work in an audio, actually a TV company, but in the audio department. And this 3D audio is already something that is from that time or even before.
But do we have it in headsets yet? Like, does it? Oh, I guess what I'm asking is, does it have any meaning in a VR world, or is it pointless?
Very much.
Absolutely. You cannot separate audio from the visual, especially in virtual reality immersive experience. Like I just mentioned earlier that I'm a very lazy player. That like if someone is shooting behind, I don't turn my head. I just turn around with the sticker. but audio is the only thing that makes me really turn away, especially if I try it with those headsets that they have like 3D built-in ambient speakers, or like have like a really good studio headphones that I can have 3D. It really make me turn back. Really, yeah.
Well, my wife is very into accessibility, and once she was reading, actually I think she was seeing a video about Formula One game for blind people, and they could play like in the real speed and all that, and the developers had to work with alongside blind people where they could hear nuances of the sound, where like for example when the car was close to a wall or something, you know. Well, I didn't hear a difference. I would just hit the walls and all the time.
Yeah.
But they can, based on audio, based on, you know, whatever,
Yeah,
3D
yeah.
audio, because again, you
Yeah.
rotate your head,
Interesting, yeah.
the
Yeah.
audio
Impressive.
environment has to rotate as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, all senses are important, you know. Otherwise, we wouldn't have like haptic devices.
Yeah.
The haptic devices are like adding them with like 3D sound and 3D visuals, and VR is like out of this world. You don't want to come out of it when you try a good one.
Yeah.
You know, like the PlayStation VR 2 is having this head haptic feedbacks that when you it gives you like shake in the head. Like
So
so, it's
I
like
want that.
yeah. No, it's not a punch or something. I haven't tried, but I read that it has like haptic feedback in the headset, so I have no idea how it is.
Came out
Interesting.
today, right?
Yes, it came out today, so.
Yeah.
Got that one ordered as well. Catherine, I'd love to come to you on this one.
Yeah.
How can XR technology be used to promote positive behavioural change? And I know you're doing some amazing things at Cora and what you mentioned in your introduction. Have you got some like examples of where you've been successful in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we work, as I said, in a lot in healthcare, and we have a section in our company only working with exposure therapy. So people with anxiety will be exposed to the exact scenario that they are afraid of together with a therapist. So it's kind of a gateway of exposure therapy using a VR scenario to train them in those scenarios that they're afraid of. So if you're afraid of, I'm personally a bit afraid of elevators, and we have an elevator scenario where you can train different scenarios, what can go wrong, and you talk together with the therapist, talk them together with the therapist, obviously. And we also have Heka VR, which is our VR software developed to treat patients with schizophrenia. And I'm thinking Payman can talk a bit about
Yeah.
that.
So this is we are doing this project with collaboration with Danish psychiatric clinics, and it's been 6 years that it's like on research, and it's been 2 years that it's on almost 2 years on trial, and this year we're trying it outside of Denmark. There are like cases that anonymous cases that we get to hear about. Like there's like a 50-something years old man who's been suffering from schizophrenia for 30 years, and after trying VR therapy for 12 sessions, he doesn't hear the voice anymore.
Yeah, so
It's like absolutely insane thing.
Yeah, just to
But-
say what the software is. So you're externalizing your hallucinatory voice by creating the avatar you hear in your head in VR. So together with a therapist, you sit and modulate the voices as they hear in their head, and also what they imagine them to look like. So you externalize that voice as a human or as a real human, so they kind of learn how to talk back and kind of control that voice. So it's avatar therapy is a common tool in
Yeah,
in
so
therapy
basically
before,
you're visualizing your demon, but the demon is being controlled by a
therapist.
psychologist or a therapist. Yeah, so it's really powerful, and also not only VR, even AR. When we have like some games that we made to help children to use injections, especially what is it called? Insulin. Yeah. So there is like a chubby guy making fun and joke with them and trying to help them. So after a while, after 30 days, the children are not scared of the needles or insulin anymore, and they do it themselves. So, yeah. So, but it also has like the negative side, if you want to hear.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we need to be balanced, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, the negative stuff is that these type of experiences are for therapy purposes. So, as long as there is a therapist and a psychologist who is like observing what is happening in VR, it should be fine, right?
Mhm.
It's also on the research. So, for example, this Heck of VR, they don't let the person go if they say that they don't hear the voice. They're still in the trial to see if the voice is going to come back or if it's going to change anything with this. But talking about the negative aspects of it, there are very famous examples of it, like sexual behavior in VR chat, for example, or in Altspace VR, that can affect really harmful especially for children. That's why there is an age limit for some of the applications, experiences, games, and headsets. But
Yeah, and believe it or not, when you embody your avatar in Allspace or
Yeah.
in VR chat, you actually get, if I encounter you like this, you will feel like I crossed your intimate limit, kind of, and you feel that as an avatar as well.
yeah, sorry.
So it sounds a bit spacey, but it's actually a common thing.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, VR is an empathy machine, right? So you can use VR to create a lot of empathy, embody other people, and get people in situations that they won't be in. Example, I can put you in a what's it called?
Refugee camp.
Yeah, and you experience what it's like to be there, and you create those kind of empathy.
Yeah.
The negative stuff. If you
can
work
use it
with
to torture people.
Yeah, obviously. But creating memories maybe for elderly people with dementia, we can put you in a scenario that you might remember or feel like, oh, I remember that now when I was young, or something that they don't remember often, but then you take it away, and what happens then?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of
some kind of addiction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was like one very famous, I think it's Chinese or Japanese, I don't know, woman that lost her daughter, and they recreated the daughter in VR for her so she could talk to her, and very kind of realistic. And after she tried, she didn't want to come out, and she got like psychological problems.
Yeah.
Right.
So like ethnic and moral behavior in creating the content is very, very important. So as long as we have like regulations that I think we don't make anything at our when someone comes to us.
Yeah,
Can you make my grandmother? I miss her so much. I'm like, no, sorry.
Yeah, so I think criticals would say that, the ethical problems that you have a power when you give something a VR headset, and I've decided what the content is on, because you get so immersed and so present in the experience. So I think, there's a responsibility of the content that you create as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think a final question for me, and more coming down the couch, is how do the real world and the virtual world become interconnected, and is it happening already?
Yeah, this comes to how I started. It's already happening since when the radio was invented. You know, even telephones were invented. This was already an extension of us. You know, then television. Further in the future, smartphones. It was, a huge change in the human history and interactions. And well, in my understanding, AR or any kind of extended reality is just the next step, when it comes, it's
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
there will be no turning back.
Yeah, absolutely.
That
No
sounds-
turning back.
Mm.
Yeah, there is some sort of augmented reality. We all know Pokemon Go, which was hidden somewhere in the nature, and it's part of the. Can you say that it was not real? You know, it is real because it's
Yeah.
part of the world, and I interact with the world, and
We all saw the teenagers.
yeah,
going around.
yeah. So many people hurt themselves. You can say that it's not real. It is real. It's part of kind of interacting with digital layers inside the physical world, and also with same with virtual reality. You can like Sony had few months ago. They had this famous sword art event in VR that you could go and try things and order and pay, and then they would deliver it to your place. So it is interconnected, kind of, right? We have location based virtual reality that you put the VR headset, you go to a totally different place, but when you touch this sofa, you see it as a stone, but here is like a. So
Yeah.
it is kind of a interconnected, but in that terms of alien way that we expect to interconnect, that I there is there's a ball and I shoot it to that wall and the wall gets destroyed. If that's the expectation, we are very far from that.
Catherine, I'd love to hear your thoughts on where we're up to.
I mean, yeah, I think we're already connected. I feel like during COVID it became very, very present. All the virtual concerts, the virtual museums, we all kind of needed to get cultural and get interconnected in somehow and in some way. And the only way to do that was in the virtual. So I think my digital identity will kind of, my real identity is interconnected with my digital identity as well. So it's kind of more of a when does it become even more, I think, and especially when talking about the smart glasses, will we have IoTs everywhere, like sensors that can kind of curate my digital world, and will I have a more expand form of Siri, like a digital assistant that I can talk to, and that will create my digital world as well, and have all my personal data in the cloud, and all these kind of technologies will kind of emerge in that way. So
Last but not least, Simon, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, totally agree. I think the virtual world and the real world is already very connected. And as you mentioned, we've all been there through COVID. Everything was virtual all of a sudden. I mean, going to the theater, quizzes, everything was virtual. And I think that's just becoming more and more. And AI is the next step. AR and maybe AI is the next step. I think you briefly mentioned ChatGPT before, and that's also kind of a virtual world you're stepping into once you start chatting with ChatGPT. And if you're careful, it starts to invent a completely new world. There are these jailbreak examples where it just makes up facts or whatever. And I think that's just here to stay, and that's becoming more and more. And I'm quite excited to see what actually happens when we combine AR and AI. I'm sure someone has done it, but what happens when I can put on my AR glasses and I can ask ChatGPT or whatever what it is I'm looking at, or something
just
like
imagine ChatGPT just with a humane interface.
that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that'll be so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then some other uses, for example, let's say you are a drone pilot, but instead of piloting one drone, you are going to pilot a cloud of drones, but you can't do on your own. Well, there are already solutions for that, but let's say then that you have AR where you drive a drone, but you have AI, the artificial intelligence, where can help you or can control everything about the other cloud or the other drones. So yeah, it can be very, very interesting. It can just go on and on.
Yeah, like we mentioned earlier, like now we're talking about artificial intelligence and immersive technology. We mentioned earlier that we don't have content, for VR. Like in terms of content, we can talk about it and we can categorize it. but what it means to have a content like application, digital layers, or 3D models, or whatever. What is very difficult right now is to create 3D models and optimize them for VR and AR. So we already have some AIs that create paintings or drawings, like DALL-E, for example.
Yeah.
And soon there is this company called sorry, I'm really bad with names. Something with Studio, that they promised that they have like text to 3D model with mesh and texture, everything ready for game engines like Unity and Unreal. So you just text what you want, and then it will create the 3D model in a split of a second for you. So imagine having that. So it's gonna, you put on the VR headset, and then you start to make your dream in VR, right? Talk about dreams a lot.
I love it, guys. Well,
Yeah.
I think it's a great point to finish on. Really would like to take this time to thank Julia, Simon, Catherine, Payman for all your insights and knowledge, and hopefully the listeners enjoyed it as much as I did. This has been the Evolution Exchange. See you next time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.